Hello, welcome to 30 Minutes. I'm Rick Anthony. My guest today is Missy Lusk, Executive Director of Ryan's Case for Smiles, a great organization that for more than 13 years has been putting smiles on the faces of children with serious illnesses. Missy, welcome to 30 Minutes. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me today.
I have a personal connection to this marvelous venture going back to 2007. When Cindy Kerr, the founder, made the first cheerful pillowcase for her son Ryan, who eventually lost his battle with cancer. At the time, my nephew's son was also fighting the same disease. They were in CHOP together at Children's Hospital. I had known Gavin Kerr, Cindy's husband, and introduced the two families who subsequently shared countless hours with their sons at the hospital, Children's Hospital for Children. My nephew's son survived and became a teacher. My Cindy and Gavin went on to create an astonishing organization in memory of their son, Ryan. And I know Ryan, the memory of Ryan is in every aspect of the activities that this organization has taken on over the past many years. Missy, bring us up to date. What's Ryan's Case for Smiles, its mission and its scope of activities today?
Sure. Our mission today has moved from donated pillowcases to helping the entire family to cope emotionally with all they're going through. So we recognize that the illness or injury far exceeds the time of treatment. And we also know it impacts the entire family. So we have gone from the donated pillowcases to multiple programs to help those families to cope emotionally.
The numbers tell the tale. Do you have the numbers handy?
Yeah.
What's been accomplished over the past 13 years?
Sure, absolutely. So when Cindy first started, she, labor of love, she did it herself. She asked her friends and family to get involved. It was Philadelphia-based only, specific to one hospital. Then it grew to 4 or 5 chapters that were, again, family-based, so run by family and friends throughout different parts of the country. We now have 120 chapters throughout North America. They are all volunteer-led and driven. With those chapters, they deliver to roughly 363 hospitals, hospices, Ronald McDonald houses, and camps, which is roughly 75,000 families touched each year by our organization. And we say roughly 75,000 because we don't know exactly what children, who receives our pillowcases and the actual names of them because of HIPAA. But we know that when children come in, they look forward to them and can get multiple pillowcases during their treatment plan. Which, those pillowcases are made by volunteers that equate for roughly thousands of volunteers and over 40,000 volunteer hours. And collectively, we have delivered over 2 million pillowcases. Last June, we celebrated that milestone, which was amazing, knowing that we hit 1 million pillowcases delivered when I came on board in 2015. So generosity.
It is amazing because, again, I go back to Cindy at her sewing machine, taking scraps of material that she had found, and then beginning to recruit friends and others who learned about it down at CHOP. So one thing led to another. How has she grown this network of international network of volunteers? It's got to be more than word of mouth.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is word of mouth and the coordinators we have who are in the local communities. So when Gavin and Cindy first started, of course, you said they didn't mean it for anything else to be but that pillowcase and those pillowcases for Ryan. Cindy was one of the first Martha Stewart Dreamer into Doers, and that is what launched us kind of internationally there. She was in the magazine, she was on the show, and then from there, the outreach has just grown from one person to another person saying, hey, I like to do this. I like to sew pillowcases. I'm a quilter. How can I get involved? And has really taken off. So we have a lot of generous volunteers who just say, let me do one. And it turns into like a can of Pringles that you can't just eat one.
Yeah. Does Cindy or does the organization put out the word to the volunteers that they should concentrate on sports themes or race cars, or what the themes that they used in the design of the pillowcases?
Sure. So our organization, is in a lot of children's hospitals. So we know that they care for children that are birth through 21 years of age usually. So we want to make sure that we are providing child-friendly pillowcases for all of those ages. Sometimes we do put out an SOS and say, hey, we're limited in the pillowcases we have for boys or for girls. But in general, what we say is child-friendly, whimsical designs, designs that could be bright colors, could be favorite sports teams, could be characters from cartoons. Anything pretty much goes in that sense. And we know that, what I might love, somebody else may have a different opinion on. So we want to make sure that there's a variety of fabrics going into those hospitals.
I interviewed Cindy, I've forgotten how many years ago, on this channel, MLTV. And again, it was soon after she launched. Again, she was at her sewing machine doing one pillowcase at a time. I'm sure she could never, ever have dreamed of what it has become. You've been there how long now?
Since 2015, so almost 5 years.
2015. So you've seen the hockey stick, the phenomenal growth in a relatively short period of time. What's next? You do pillowcases. We're going to get to the masks in a moment, but you don't do other bedding. Is that correct? It's only pillowcases.
It's only pillowcases, yeah. So in 2015, when I came on, it was just at the height of the talks within our organization to really look at who we were, which was Conquer Cancer, and then who we were providing pillowcases to, which initially was a cancer-focused organization. Right. But we really realized that all children who are going through life-changing illnesses or injuries could benefit from our organization. So we rebranded, and that's when we came Ryan's Case for Smiles. And at that point, we teamed up with leading researchers and clinicians at the Center for Pediatric Traumatic Stress, which is locally here from CHOP and DuPont, two individuals that came together to form that. And we talked to them and said, all right, so we want to look at the emotional impact and what does that mean? And we created something called copingspace.org, which are online resources to help caregivers navigate the emotional toll that this illness or injury has on their entire family. But we also wanted to make sure that we had resources for the community and schools. So those things were added. Along with that, we also added another area. So siblings are those unforgotten ones often, right? So we started developing even additional programming for siblings, and we created these boxes. We had some generous corporations who said, I want to get involved, and maybe sewing pillowcases wasn't an option because of the amount of employees they had. So these coping boxes were a way for us to fill a need, but then also have it funded. So in each box, there are specific items, and each item has a card that goes with it that tells them, those siblings, how to use those items. So if there's a 3-year-old and trying to get them to do some deep breathing, probably not going to happen. But if you pull up the bubbles and you work with them to count as they are blowing their bubbles, that has a better chance of happening, and kind of teaching them positive coping techniques as they're going.
So you have a board of medical specialists or pediatric specialists who are providing guidance?
Kind of. So Ann Kasak, she's one of the leading researchers on medical traumatic stress. She is one of the advisors on our board, and we work closely with the team at the Center for Pediatric Traumatic Stress here, where as we were developing the resources on our site, we actually contracted with them. So it's our own site, but we contracted with them to say, would you help us in looking at making sure that it's factual there, that we're providing things that families need now, and that they can navigate it. So so pretty much we do a lot of things with them. We'll go back and forth if there's different projects, all in the name of making sure that parents, kids, and the community have the resources they need to help that family thrive and build resilience.
Are all of the hospitals, the 300 and some hospitals, and that's U.S. only, or is that international?
So we are U.S. and Canada based.
Okay. Are they all children's hospitals like CHOP and like DuPont?
No, they vary. So some are pediatric hospitals, of course, and some are community hospitals. So when we rebranded, we asked our coordinators to still have that focus for oncology as the first place they start.
Right.
But then as, maybe another floor needed needed some pillowcases, they could reach out to that floor if they found that need. At the hospital that I worked at, we started with oncology, and then I worked in the ICU at that point before transitioning to Case for Smiles, and we were able to get them there.
But the pillowcases are sent to hospitals. Do you have a way to get pillowcases to children who are homebound and being treated at home as well?
It's a case-by-case basis. So our general delivery method is to take pillowcases to our partner hospitals. Each pillowcase is individually wrapped, so it's in a Ziploc bag, and it has a card that says it's from Case for Smiles. And on the flip side, it tells them that they're not alone, the caregivers, and leads them to Coping Space so they can check out our resources. Occasionally, we do have a family who reaches out to us who found out about us and really believes their child could benefit from a pillowcase.
Yes.
So what we try to do is, since we have 120 chapters, we try to link them up with their closest chapter to get a pillowcase to that child at home.
Do you have pillowcases with a child's name on it, or a series of names, Joe, Tom, Rich, etc.?
Generally not, but we do have people who are volunteers within our organization that embroider. So sometimes they might have a fun saying. If we know that it's for a specific kid and it's like a one-off pillowcase, every once in a while, somebody will do something special. But in general, we want to make sure that the pillowcases going out, we know that they go out in batches of, it might be 100 to a hospital at a time. It might be 50 at a hospital, that they have what they need, that it's not, just stuck to a kid's name on it.
Yeah. I was going to say demand, that's the wrong word. The request for pillowcases, is that seasonal? Does it go up during the Christmas season or holiday season, for example, because of the holiday theme?
Yeah, not always. So we do say that it is hospital specific. So some hospitals won't accept flannel pillowcases. Some hospitals don't accept the holiday pillowcases. So it's really for anybody who wants to get involved, we do strongly suggest that they coordinate their making of pillowcases and buying their fabric with the coordinator, just for the sheer fact that they can give those insights into what other considerations above what we list the hospitals may have.
Yeah. What kind of feedback do you get from parents, other family members, and of course the children?
Yeah, very positive. When I first started, we had a family who reached out to us that the sibling actually received the pillowcase after the child had passed. And they reached out and said, can we have another one? This is tattered because it has been so well loved throughout all the years. So we know that they are very cherished items. We know that when they get to the hospitals, I think as excited the kids are to see those pillowcases, so are the staff. Like they love looking through all the different patterns and seeing them and looking and saying, oh my gosh, it has glasses just like me, or it's hockey themed, just what I love. Yeah. So those are great things. We also hear from families that a lot of times when they're admitted to the hospital, they don't have the opportunity to grab things. So it's a last minute, like I was in the emergency room and now I'm being admitted and I have nothing. So it's that piece of normalcy in home that they have that again, the only complaint we might get is that the child loves it so much that it's hard to wash that pillowcase because they don't want it out of their room.
Like so many organizations these days during the pandemic, your organization has stepped up and is using the resources, the volunteers and so on to produce masks for nursing staff, I suppose, at the hospitals. When did it start? How much, what progress have you made? And has it opened other possibilities for the organization to satisfy other needs associated with the pandemic?
Potentially. So from our standpoint, we were receiving some, emails and social media links from people who said, hey, hospitals are looking for masks. Have you heard about this? Would you think about doing this? So we put out something to all of our coordinators and said, we know this will be hospital specific. If you look at the market, there's lots of patterns for masks out there, some with pockets, without pockets. They're inundated with that. So we said, please contact your local partner hospitals and ask them if this is something that they are interested in. We also know that to make a mask, it's not a lot of fabric. And for us, we naturally have some scrap fabric left over after a pillowcase. So you can make a pillowcase and a couple masks in the same time frame. So that was our first approach. And then we started reaching out here in the Philadelphia area and asking our hospitals if they do accept masks, if they wanted them. At that time, a lot of them were not accepting anything. So, we really thought long and hard, is this something we do? We ended up splitting into some micro groups on our board, and one of them was focused on really researching masks and if it's something we should dive into. And that's when it came out that one of our big partners, and we believe that when we, a partner, a volunteer, or donor, anybody involved in a mission, we want to be partners, and it should be a two-way street. So we reached out to one of our partners and said, we know you have nurses in homes. So it's Beata Home Healthcare. We know you have nurses in homes, How can we, can we supply some fabric masks? Would that work? And they came back with a resounding yes, yes, yes. And then they asked, we asked the fact of, do you have a specific pattern? Do you have a quantity? And they came back asking for 4,000 masks and then up to 5. So we thought that was a very, very big feat to go after. We committed to 1,000 and put it out nationally to all of our volunteers in a newsletter and said, here's what we're looking to do. Would you be willing to get involved? And we met our goal earlier this month. We delivered over 5,000. We had some additional masks. People are still selling masks. In the time right after we committed to Beata, we had some of our partner hospitals that came back to us and said, hey, look, now we do want masks. And we were hesitant at first to commit, but we were able along this process to actually meet the demands of Beata, plus the 3 hospitals that reached out to us locally to give them masks. And now we have a plan that we probably will be sewing through the end of the year, the masks. And as hospitals need them, we will make sure that they get to the places they need to be.
I'm confused. So the masks are being made for Beata nurses, Beata being a large home care company, as well as the nurses in hospitals, both of those?
Yeah,
okay.
So our national reach, the effort that we took on was to make them for Beata, knowing that a lot of the hospitals, they were a contingency plan if they ran out of masks.
Yeah.
We knew the Beata would put them to use right away. So we wanted to, that was the first thing. But throughout the process, the hospitals started shifting. When they really started looking at things, they started shifting on how they would use those masks.
Right.
And then they came back. And so for some hospitals, they will be using those masks for staff, but then also giving them out to the families as they come in. So we know that when masks went to Shriners or St. Chris or any of our other partner institutions, they are going to be used now, by families and staff.
Yeah, you said the same material that is used to make pillowcases can be used to make a mask. I thought masks had to have different layers and so on to go on.
Yeah, so these, so the CDC recommends wearing a mask when you go out as their new guidelines.
Right.
And so these will be fabric masks. These are not for taking care of COVID positive patients. These are not for, like the mask that you would wear in replacement of an N95 mask or a surgical mask at the hospital. Yeah. These are more for as they are going out into the communities, or, if you have somebody who works in a hospital that is more administrative, they may wear something, the cloth masks. The ones we did create for Beata, from what I understand, they could be worn over top of a surgical mask.
Okay.
And we made them such that they have a pocket in the back that there could be a filter that's inserted, and then you put a wire on the top so they could have that pinch near them.
Snugness. Yeah. I keep going back to my recollection of the early days. Again, when I interviewed Cindy and kind of stayed in touch with what was going on. And again, as I remember, she was using remnants that she found around the house and other people would donate. The scale you're on now, where does the material come from? Is it donated? Do you have to buy it?
It's a good mix. So when Cindy started, fabric was also $3 a yard.
Yeah.
So make a pillowcase for $3. Now it's valued at 11. So for us, so we're the national organization, which is also the Philly chapter. So this is where we started. So for us, we get our funds through some are in-kind donations of fabric and or pillowcases, completed pillowcases. We write grants, individual donors, corporate sponsorships, event sponsorships. I'm trying to think of schools. So the various fundraising methods to get those funds in to then convert them to, purchasing fabric to use for the pillowcases.
You mentioned before that over the years, the scope of services that Case for Smiles provides goes beyond the pillowcase. You mentioned it, a box, a kit.
Yeah.
That was developed principally for the child as well as siblings. And of course, the masks. There must be an overall business strategy, and there must be a plan that says as we grow, there are other needs we can satisfy, a strategic plan. Can you give us some idea of where this organization is going and what additional services it might be providing, especially as we come out of, God willing, this pandemic, which creates special needs and therefore special demands for different types of services? To what extent are you involved in that? That is the organization. So
looking at our organization, it wasn't necessarily about growth in being in all of the hospitals. We want to be making sure that we are providing a service that is well-made pillowcases for those children and families and the resources to support them. So our plan going forward is we're currently in development of a digital product for siblings that they will be able to jump on and kind of navigate some of the overall themes that we have heard from siblings that are stressors for them. And then eventually we also want to do something similar with a caregiver experience. Again, something very virtual for them and very in that format is engaging. So that's pretty much what we're looking to expand upon, is just making sure that the programs that we have best meet the emotional impact that an illness or injury has on a family.
Yeah, I guess until recently, not only in conjunction with cancer, but with autism and some of the other issues that many children face, siblings have been kind of forgotten. And only recently is it beginning to dawn on people that they feel isolated, they are jealous, they are resentful of the attention that the ill child, the sick child receives. Is that what you're trying to address?
Yes. And so the research out there for medical traumatic stress, a lot of times you'll see that it's actually the sibling and the caregivers that are more impacted than the actual child going through the illness.
Yes.
Cindy has said that Ryan actually said to her, I think it's worse for you guys than it is for me. And, that's very true of what the research indicates.
Yeah. Any other, are you partnering? Pull back. I know you're partnering with some organizations. Are there other organizations with which you would like to partner to advance the cause?
Potentially, yeah. So, we are looking at, Gavin just was partner in an article about the financial burdens on having a child with a life-changing illness or injury. And we're doing some more with them out of North Carolina. So there's definitely room for growth there. Again, as long as we can look at it as strategically saying that we're going to advance our mission by helping those children and families, we will do different partnerships.
Are you recognized, supported by the American Cancer Association?
We are not. We're independent.
You're independent, and you want to stay that way, obviously.
Yeah, if there's families that they have to support, of course,
Yeah. Do you accept federal or state grants?
No, we have. So right now, most of our grants are from corporations and individuals.
Yeah. And you have a perpetual funding campaign, right? You're always fundraising.
Always fundraising, yeah. And unfortunately, with this year, we had to cancel some of our
Sure.
signature events, like our handbag bingo and our corporate outreaches. So we're doing a virtual wellness event, which we thought was great to build community and resilience and kind of share our coping tips that not only help those children and families who are in the hospital and dealing with a life-changing illness or injury, but anybody going through something that is could be traumatic.
Is Ryan's Case for Smiles the only organization of its kind in the world?
I think we're the only one who provides pillowcases.
Yes.
There are similar organizations that provide things for kids in the hospital, but I think we are unique in the sense that we are trying to tackle not just the comfort in the hospital, but then also the whole emotional impact that it has.
Is there also a foundation? Is there a foundation as well in memory of Ryan?
No, there's not a foundation. Everything is just through Ryan's Case for Smiles.
Yeah. Well, it's a great organization. As I said, Cindy's story is a great story and is not too dissimilar from so many others. Individuals who see a need, are creative, have an idea, and so on. One thing leads to another. In a way, she's a great social entrepreneur. Took an idea and scaled it and built it. I know you have much more of a management or structure than you had before. And I guess that comes with growth. You need more people doing more things in coordination. You're in the US and Canada now. Has there been a call to go abroad to other countries?
Yeah, in the past, they were actually in South Africa. There's a woman in the UK who is interested in looking at that. So, I mean, it's not off of our radar. But again, how we manage this all is people come to us instead of us reaching out to them. Yeah. And it has worked well for us.
Yeah. Well, I wish you luck. Please say hello to Cindy and to Gavin for me. They are extraordinary people. As I said to someone recently, Gavin was born to serve. He's just that kind of human being, one of the best that God ever made. And I appreciate your coming on, visiting with us, telling us more about Ryan Case for Smiles. If folks are interested in learning more or in writing a check, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so they can visit our website at www.caseforsmiles.org. They'll find things about our mission, the link for coping space, and also how to join our wellness challenge that's happening right now.
What is that?
It's the
60 seconds.
Virtual wellness event in order to build community and resilience. But it's a challenge that whether you are walking, running, swimming, doing gardening, you log your hours. It's a fundraiser. You log your hours. And at the end, we collectively see how many miles participants have walked, run, swam, whatever they enjoy.
Well, good luck with it.
Thank
you. If I could run, I'd do something, but I can't run anymore.
Well, check it out. There might be something that you can do.
Okay. All right. My guest today has been Missy Lusk, who is the executive director for Ryan Case for Smiles, an organization that does marvelous work and should be supported by more people. Thank you, Missy. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me. You too. Bye.
Be safe.
Thanks. You too.